Since the early 1960s, Jerry Aspland has worked on the water. At the height of his career, Jerry was in charge of Arco Marine's tanker fleet and looked after the transportation of crude oil worldwide. In the wake of the Exxon Valdez incident, he was inspired to push for changes and improvements to the marine transportation system around the world. Jerry became an advocate for tanker safety. His campaign for change was so successful, the U.S. Coast Guard presented Jerry with the Distinguished Public Service Award, the Coast Guard's highest civilian honor.
When I get involved in these types of projects, the very first thing I ask my client to do before I'll commit to the project is say, I want to see if we can safely navigate the vessel up to the terminal and back to the ocean. We went to a simulator in Denmark, which we considered, and I was involved in the choice of that simulator. We considered them to be the best to do what we needed to do, and that was to prove to ourselves that it was safe to navigate a vessel up through the different channels to get to Kitimat. Once having proven that, and that was successful, I would just like to add that if it had not been successful, I would not have joined the project. But it was successful.
If you visit places in Sweden and Norway where they have similar archipelagos, waterways, channels, it's very similar to what we have on the west coast here. They also have environmentally sensitive areas, but they can live together with tanker traffic.
There is tanker traffic up and down BC's north coast right now. In 2009, for example, Port Metro Vancouver welcomed nearly 2,800 vessels. More than 250 of them were tankers. And over the past 25 years, more than 1,500 ships have traveled safely in and out of Kitimat.
Safety is paramount on the Enbridge project. It's absolutely vital that we minimize any possible risk of events that might happen along the channel.
The most difficult part, it's a long passage. But the water is deep, it's very predictable. Shall I say, the walls of the channels are straight up, so there's good radar targets. So there are many good features to this transit. I am absolutely convinced this can be done safely in all weathers and at all times, daytime or nighttime. Today there's much misunderstanding about the transportation of oil in tankers. The tanker industry has improved itself, that it has reduced the number of risks for accident immensely. And unfortunately, it's not given credit for that. It's unfortunate because many improvements have been made. Back in the 70s, 80s, there were many tanker spills. Today, there are very few tanker spills, and in fact, if you look at the statistics, spills from tankers are almost at the bottom of the list of sources of oil that have been unintentionally spilled on the ocean. So it's been minimized from the standpoint that ships are built better, they're operated better, and they have better training of the people that are operating the ships.
The Northern Gateway project will lead to improvements to the Douglas Channel that will make it safer not just for tankers, but for everyone. A first response team will be stationed in Kitimat. Emergency response equipment and trained staff will be set up along the shipping route. And a new radar system and navigational aids will be available for everyone who uses the Douglas Channel. The tankers themselves will be escorted by the most powerful tugboats on the west coast, which will also carry emergency response and firefighting equipment.
There are risks to shipping. We know what those risks are. Usually the principal risks are the loss of engine power and the loss of steering in a ship. The most competent way to address that is to provide tethered towing, and that's what has been done in Europe for probably 10 to 20 years now. When you use tethered towing operations, the safety increases tenfold.
There'll be 2 pilots in each ship, which will mean we'll have 2 extra sets of eyes on the bridge to be sure where they're going. Pilots provide local knowledge. They're very familiar with the seaway, the port, they will assist the ship's crew in making this long trip. It is long, it is considered long. It will take about 10 hours. We have decided to cut back on the speeds. Speeds will run somewhere between 8 and 12 knots. And the reason for that is that there are certain places where you may want to go just a little bit faster for better steerage way, other places where you want to slow down because of wake, or to allow better assistance and power from the escorting tugboats. But I want to reassure everybody that this route, without all these additional improvements, was very safe with the modern tanker today.